takes off cooling ducts. 01:30. And we are now 11 hours into the 24 hours of Le Mans. We have 13 hours to go. So let's just go from the top of the leaderboard. This is our race leader, Kamui Kobayashi. Toyota number 8 leads Toyota number 7, beg your pardon, leads Toyota number 8. Rebellion number 1 in 3rd, Rebellion at number 3 in 4th place. 5th place overall is our LMP2 leader. That's Will Owen in the number 32 United Autosports car. Phil Hansen in the number 22 behind him in 2nd. Roberto Gonzalez lies in 3rd for Jota Sport. Let's hear from our leader. There you go, straightforward, standard stuff. And that was a secondary message from Rebellion. Bruno Senna had 3 laps to go. And that is Panis Racing. Talk to Julien Canal. Panis Racing going exclusively with French radio because they have 3 French drivers and a French crew. So having documented, Panis Racing, by the way, Julien Canal was being talked into the pits. He is now in the pit lane from 4th place ahead of G drives Roman Rusinov, their 26 car, and the So 24 Haas by Graf of Vincent Capilliere, 39 car. That rounds out the top half dozen in LMP2. In GTE Pro, AF Corsa lead with a 51 Ferrari of Daniel Serra. From the 2 Aston Martins, 97 has Harry Tinknell aboard, and 95 has Marco Sorensen aboard. There is the top of your leaderboard. And our lead GTE Pro Class car is in 23rd place overall. Risi Competizione up to 4th, with Ollie Pla behind the wheel ahead of Fred Makovici and Sam Bird in the AF Corsa 71 Ferrari that was in 3rd place in GTE Pro is in the pit lane with major dramas. There's been a big delay for the WeatherTech Ferrari and a huge delay for the 92 factory Porsche. In our GT Am class, the leader is Augusto Farfus in the 98 Aston, ahead of Johnny Adam in the TF Sport car, and Egidio Perfetti makes it 1 Porsche in the top 3, ahead of the best Ferrari of Manu Collar, the Porsche of Matt Campbell, and the Porsche of Ben Barker. And there you go, looking down the order. 37 is in the pit lane and has been black flagged. It has been excluded from the race for receiving outside assistance. And our retirements start with the 33 high-class car, 16 G-Drive Racing by Algarve. Duquesne's number 30 car, that's out too. So is the number 4 by Colles, the number 52 AF Corsa Ferrari, the 55 Spirit of Race Ferrari, and the first retirement of the race, the number 11 Euro International LMP2 car. So those are the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 retirements in 11 hours.
Which feels a lot in the kind of modern history of this. The last couple of races I seem to recall there being relatively few in the first half of the race.
Well, 4 LMP2 retirements is a high attrition rate.
Oh, yes.
And those are the ones, well, and we've got an exclusion as well now. So that's 5 LMP2 cars out of the race. And the only reason that 37 has been excluded was because it too stopped out on the circuit and it had to receive outside assistance to get back. Oh, he's got his little snuggly things there and a Chupa Chups. Very nice. Work going on still on the car that was brought into AF Corsa by Sam Bird.
That car tumbling down the order.
Yeah.
And is now out of the top 30.
It's tumbled down the order.
It's now 6th in GT Pro, and judging by the Alan McNish School of Reality, which I agree with, their chances of a win are done.
And
chances of a podium are done.
And actually, in one more lap stationary, Cooper McNeil in the WeatherTech Ferrari will move up into 6th position ahead of this car. He's only 1 lap behind now in 7th. However, they'll need to be in the pit lane for another 40 minutes before they are passed by the 92 Porsche GT.
So from the 2 bullets in the gun for AF Corsa to the 1 for Aston Martin Racing, we're now down to dueling pistols.
Well, you only need 1 car to win the race, as Porsche proved and Audi have proved.
Yeah, but I tell you what.
13 hours with just 1 bullet in the gun is a long time to be holding your breath.
Yeah, but that bullet's pretty quick, and right now Tinknell's just dragged in. He lost 10 seconds in the slow zone, and so he was actually at 13 seconds behind Serra, but he's pulled that back to 6 now. So they're going at it, but there's the obligatory tank tape going on the back of the Ferrari here.
If it wasn't for tank tape, would there be any racing anywhere? There'd be no tea out of our teapot for sure. It's being held together by Gaffer now. It's a final race of its long and illustrious career for the Tea Shop Teapot.
Talking about Harry Tinknell, one of a number, and it's unusual in modern era, a number of drivers with factory level programs in both GT and LMP racing, with the DPI program in the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship, with his LMP2 program that he's had with Carlin, Thunderhead Carlin, and of course the Ford and now the Aston Martin program here in GTE Pro.
Well, he's not really covering all bases. I mean, he hasn't made much effort to get into a GTE AM car, has he?
No, he's not.
No.
I think it's lack of application.
You know, if there was some decent management there steering his career.
Absolutely.
Yeah. However, at the moment, he seems to be steering himself quite nicely, as Alan says, closing in on Daniel Serra. And of course, Daniel Serra has first-hand experience of what the AMR cars can do, so he will have a good idea of where the Aston may well be stronger than him and where he may be stronger than the Aston. Didn't realise that Lawrence Van Tor was from Hasselt.
71 car back into the race.
Hasselt in Belgium, famed for being the closest major town to
Belgium?
Zolder.
Oh, indeed.
Yeah.
Another circuit I've never been to.
Have you not?
No, remarkable. I don't know.
I know. Hasselt is a lovely little university town and the sort of place that makes you think, do you know what, this would be a really nice place to eat. Genuinely, promise you, it would be a really lovely place to live.
7 minutes 33 seconds it took for the AF Corsa team to get that Ferrari back out on track. Sam Bird was in the car when it came into the pits. Davide Aragon is now in the car on the way back out.
Just like to apologise to Sam and to his mum Diane Bird, because as ever the Haven jinx has struck again.
It's your fault.
Well, I've got to say though, they are out of it for the win more likely, but I was maybe a little bit hasty to say they're out of it for the podium with this reliability sort of level that we've had.
I know what's going on with this race.
Well, I guess that's the difference. We've not seen much, frankly, of a difference for the fact that we've got a, how can we put this, less numerically impressive GTE Pro class this year. But what that does mean is that the chances of a little bit of attrition helping out someone who's had a minor delay are greater. There's the 92 car. This is the car that had the early problems.
Sir. Having just talked up WeatherTech's hopes of catching and passing the 71 Ferrari, now that they are 1 lap behind, they've just been hit with the penalty for pit stop infringement.
Was it a penalty or was it an investigation?
An investigation.
Yeah, that's your fault as well.
You don't get investigations without a penalty following, very usually.
Or certainly don't get penalties without investigations.
Indeed. 92 becomes 51 in the blink of an eye. There is your leader, Daniel Serra, and we're waiting for Harry Tinknell to come into shot.
No, he's been into the pits. Harry been into the pits because he did a 14-lap stint. Serra's got 2 more laps, so the end of this lap and 1 more before he comes to the pits.
In fact, both AMR cars came in together. Harry Tinknell and Richard Westbrook remain at the wheel.
Yeah, 6 seconds difference in the pit stop times of the 2 cars. The 97 car, Harry Tinknell, 1 minute and 20. 1 minute and 26 for Richard Westbrook. Daniel Serra, still the only man who's won in the GT Pro class for 2 different factory teams, Aston Martin and Ferrari.
Okay, Serra?
Whatever will be, will be.
He won in the pro class for Aston Martin.
He did, pro for both. Yeah, it was the last-ditch win with the pass on the Corvette along the start-finish straight in the final minutes.
By Johnny Adam.
Yeah,
indeed.
Yep. And the Ford was right there
in third. Yes.
Yeah. It was a fantastic ding-dong at the end of the race.
Wasn't it just? I think, was that Harry aboard that car at the time?
The Ford
yeah.
GT, yeah.
There's the 35 Eurasia Motorsport LMP2 car. Had problems early on, didn't it? Where have they crept up to?
They are in 22nd place, 18th in class. Roberto Merri.
So previous winners in GT Pro, AF Corsa, Porsche GT 92, 97 Aston Martin, and the 68 Chip Ganassi Ford. That, of course, on the 50th on the 50th anniversary of the 67 win. 67 win for the Ford GT40 program. Toyota in the pit lane with the number 8 car. Sebastian Buemi meanders away. At least he has the consistency of helmetage. So is it back to Kaz Nakajima, or is Brendan Hartley in stealth mode? Hard to tell because his helmet's black and so is the Knight. I suppose you could say it's a kind of black fern as opposed to his daytime helmet, which is a bit more Land of the Long White Cloud.
It's all black.
It's an all black, yes indeed. I see what he did there. Talk among yourself. I've got a chocolate cornflake cake to eat.
I'll talk about something. I'll talk about the fact that Tom Blomqvist has just put in the fastest lap of the Haborta Racing Ferraris race thus far, a 3:54.113. That's another championship winning car. That was the Asia Le Mans Series winning car from this current season, finished in February before the world changed for what feels like the rest of time. 72 car. Down through the Forest S is Brendan Hartley. Held up a little by the 77 car there. We'll duck to the inside, press the go button, and away we go again.
It's a lead Ferrari. Coming up over the top of the hill, Davide Rigon. He owes us a pit stop, which I think will be at the end of this lap.
See, interesting.
Daniel Serra, apologies. Yep.
Interesting you call it a hill, because obviously we call it a little brow in a car, but I'm sure when you're running it, it feels all of a hill.
Well, it's actually halfway down the circuit, and it does feel like a little bit of a hill because you know that you've got 7 and a bit K to come back. And as Paul Di Resta's now strapped into the United Autosports, it's into the pits. Second place at the moment for this car.
Yep, Will Owen has just stopped in the 32 car. He's gone back out again. And Phil Hansen handing over to Paul Di Resta. Gunn taking a little while to disconnect from the left rear, which I always worry just a fraction about. In comes the Jota Sport car from third, so 1, 2, 3 in the LMP2 field, all stopping in sync.
She'll see the, as it should be, the carriage door down on 37 next door.
Well, whether the garage door is down or not, the Sharpie of indignity.
Oh, he's pumping the brake pedal there. See, when his helmet is moving up and down, he's pumping onto the brake pedal. Now, he has to keep some pressure onto it anyway, so that the wheel doesn't spin round as they're maybe checking the pressures. But they've got maybe a little bit of a long pedal starting in that Jota car.
Unless he's just trying to shuffle himself into a comfortable position, because that sort of long stretch down the Mulsanne straight that they used to use in the Group C days doesn't exist anymore, does it?
Yeah, but you're strapped in and you've held in so much.
Yeah.
But I think he's probably just given that brake a bit of a pump.
Pit stop 2 for Andre Negrin, the Senior Tech Alpine car, so temporarily his chase of the Dragon Speed car for 7th place has stopped. This is 17 in the pits as well. EDEC Sports' Kyle Tilley is making his Le Mans debut this year. One of 2 debutants remaining in that car. The 28 car has left the pits. Richard Bradley has taken over that EDEC Sport car. And Bajs Kevisa has also just stopped in the Richard Mille Racing Team number 50 car. And that with the IDEC Sport car battling for 10th with Cool Racing's Antonin Borger.
And yeah, of course, the car's in the pits as the 24 struggling to start coming out the pits.
Yeah, some racing car
going.
Yeah.
Is that something to do with releasing the pit limiter, which is just at the line beforehand?
Very, very likely, isn't it? 51 is in, race leader in GTE Pro. Busy pit lane right now. Alex Legui has headed off to get some well-earned rest. Daniel Serra is strapping in his teammate, so he is out of the car. In fact, he's not strapping in, he's cleared off. Now he clears off. And look at the time men, poised and ready to spring into action.
I think this is going to be probably a change, or very close to a change of lead in GTE Pro as well at the end of this pit stop.
So who's taking over from Daniel Serra?
It will be...
Alessandro?
No, because he was in just before.
Collado.
Yeah, so it'll be James Collado who started the race.
So he'll be coming out on full tanks and fresh rubber with Harry Tinknell breathing down his neck. Race leader is in. They come around really fast, don't they? How many laps are the Toyotas doing at a time?
The Toyotas in the stints are doing 11.
Yeah. Just seems like there's almost always one in. So it's race leader Kamui Kobayashi remaining in the car, clearing out some gubbins from the tunnels. And fuel only. He will stay on the same set of tyres, and they will likely only change tyres for a new driver. What you want to do, Alan, I guess, is to keep the driver in as long as you can possibly manage the tyres staying alive, and maybe give yourself a little bit more leeway when we get down to the clinch at the end of the race.
Well, the other thing, we don't have enough tyres to run clean all the way through. They only get 12 sets of tyres for the complete time of the race. As we see the MR car guy, that car's been off in the gravel and different bits and pieces, but its splitters dropped at the front. Oh, the suspension's actually dropped, I think.
It does look like it, doesn't it? Left fronters, it's got air in the tyre, but it's dragging itself at sorry nose along the ground.
Look,
so
remarkably similar to the issue on the other side on the 71 car.
Is this curb thumpery? Look at the debris in the track. You can see it in the headlights, just bits of gravel and rubbish everywhere. And of course, some of that is being added to by Kai Cozzolino in this car. He likes a race, doesn't he, Kai Cozzolino? Great battle with Giancarlo Fisichella for a dozen laps or so in the race in Fuji last year. Some really spectacular door handle to door handle racing, gave no quarter at all.
Absolutely.
In fact, he took it. He actually won that particular fight, and it wasn't just a fight, it was a real brawl.
Oh yeah,
it was, wasn't it? It was a proper pub fight.
But he took advantage of it and did a real move on Fisichella, who was, I think, quite surprised by it.
Yes, he fizzied Fisichella. So the AM class leader has completed 155 laps, and this car into the pit lane now.
70 car, the MR Racing car that was dragging on the left-hand side,
is 11 laps behind the leader.
Yeah, one of a number of cars that suffered significant delay in the early part of this race. Spent the rest of the first half of this Le Mans 24 Hours trying to recover some of that lost ground. This is not going to help.
And he's going to spend the second half of this Le Mans 24 Hours still trying to recover that lost ground. And you're right, this won't help. It does look like a left front suspension collops. I don't think a hammer's going to sort that one out either. So back into the garage.
Look in the background, both the hammer and the gaffer tape being put away for the moment.
Oh, trying to take the wheels off. I'm not sure why you'd be doing that when it's up on the dollies. Oh dear. Yeah, just get it back in the garage, start the major work, and then worry about what tyres it's going to go out on when it's ready to go back out.
And it looked a bit like a broken leg there as they were dragging it back in on that left front.
Yeah. Well, their attention goes to the same part of the car as our eyes were drawn to. And you're absolutely right, Graham. see a factory car coming in with a broken right front damper, or upright, or whatever, wishbone, and then come in with a broken left. Now maybe entirely different damper suppliers and everything else.
They'll be homologated parts. It's a homologated car.
But somebody somewhere is whacking curbs hard.
Yep.
You know, when you've got certain curbs, you see these little yellow curbs that you see are running 90 degrees, as we've got an onboard with the Alpine, Signatech Alpine. This is some replays, Juan Pablo Montoya getting strapped in various different pit stops. What I was saying was that you do have curbs that are raised about 50 mil from the ground, and they're 90 degrees to the direction of travel. And if you go over one of those with load, for example, brake pressure, or alternatively huge speed, then the shock, the vertical shock into the suspension system is much more than the calculated loads that they're normally designed to, and they can have big effects.
You think of it when you hit a speed bump in your car that you hadn't noticed.
Yeah, okay, they're a bit more than 50 mil though.
Oh, no, absolutely, but it's the same deal.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes you just feel the thump and you think, oh, you know, the potential for damage to wheels and stuff like that is very well known.
The left front, you usually have the problem coming out of the Tetra Rouge corner, because there you've got inverse ones. They are, as the cameraman's doing a very good, I think he's actually going to be doing the repair very soon if he's not careful. He's so far into the wheel arch. But there you get a heck of a shock, and that's what broke the nose, if we remember, or appeared to break the nose of the Bicolis car in practice the other evening, just purely by going over one of those so aggressively.
Look at the state of this car. We're not even halfway into the race, and so much of and again here, you know, so much of the paintwork is covered in all these marks, and that's not insect squish. Some of it is, most of it is rubber marks. When the little marbles of rubber get fired up against the car, it is stickier than chewing gum and harder to get off, and that's why these cars are just peppered with black marks. And so then when you see a car being handed over to the museum that's impeccable in all its perfect factory livery, you go, well, that's not a car that ever raced at Le Mans, never won Le Mans, no.
One of the things that always makes me smile, you walk along a top-class circuit and under the overbridge, and you look up, and there's always rubber peppered along the other side of the bridge.
Exactly. It's like chewing gum on a pavement, but the other way up. Yeah, exactly right. Gustavo Menezes heading out of the pit lane for Rebellion in third place as we watch James Calado in the AF Corsa Ferrari leading in the GTE Pro class. Gap creeping away. He's gone from 4.8 out to 5.3 seconds over Harry Tingle. He's in clear air, and Harry in the chasing Aston Martin in a little bit of traffic at the moment. Richard Westbrook third in his 95 Aston Martin. There's the second place car. And that's the car he was just trying to get by. The Wins Racing Team Project 1 car.
That's nearly a full lap behind.
Yeah, Felipe Fraga in that AM class car. A long way down the order. It was going very well early on, had a problem, got involved in somebody else's accident down at Arnage, couldn't avoid a spinning prototype and essentially wiped the nose off the car. Jamie Campbell-Walter has come in bearing Crispies. Oh, this could be a long break in commentary. Brought in armfuls of Tyrrell's crisps and some mini saucisson and some Bounty bars, so we are well set for the evening. All we need now is a bottle of rosé and things will go swimmingly. Gap is growing first to second. Ferrari is creeping away. Now, are fresh tyres part of that equation? I know James Calado has only been out of the pits for 2 or 3 laps. Maybe that's really starting to have an effect.
Well, Tinkle's on the second stint on the tyre, but it was actually the last sector which was a little bit traffic affected, I think, more than necessarily tyre effect. However, it's quite clear that the Calado car is actually, it's got some speed, there's no question.
So Sam Bird chatting away in the garage. Here, looking here at AMR. 95 car Richard Westbrook, 3rd place in the GTE Pro class. And how far behind is Westy? 3 minutes, so very nearly a lap behind the 51 Ferrari, which is not too far behind him. What are they doing at the moment? Collado did a 3:52, and Westy is a 3:14 behind. So 30 seconds behind him down the road is the race leader. '82 car in 4th place for Risi Competizione, Jules Gounon. And that car having a relatively trouble-free run. They're just keeping their head down and racing on, hoping to avoid issues. But it is a lap behind the top 3. They got caught in a different safety car a couple of times, I should think.
This, by the way, this gentleman is the answer to why are there so many Danes in the Aston Martin racing team. Jan Struver, the owner of Young Driver, AMR, as was. And a bit of a racing hero, I think. Glorious scenes. And pin-sharp cameras nowadays.
Yes, aren't they? Used to watching old Le Mans on VHS. It's a very different deal,
isn't it just?
Oh, my goodness me.
What, is that a car? No, it's not. No.
Even in broad daylight. Yeah, the days of Radio Le Mans on the video are a long time ago. We're closing in on an AM class Ferrari. It's one of the Iron Lynx cars, isn't it? Is that?
That's a 75.
It is a 75 car. Making his way past in the Porsche curves.
Rino Mastronardi is that car at 16th position, and Rino beginning to close in on Johnny Molam ahead.
And who's this shooting through? Oh, that is Rino Mastronardi shooting through the second chicane. So that was a little bit further back. That will have just given him a little wake up. And continuing on his way, Richard Westbrook, 3rd place in the GT Pro class with the 3 green lights on the side of the car.
'34 car back on pit road. Into Europol in the hands of Kubish Moski. Jakob Kuba.
Yep.
And away that car goes.
And Schmakowski's been with that team since they started out in V2V racing. He's gone through V2V, he's gone through Michelin Le Mans Cup, and now up into European Le Mans Series with them.
LMP3 and LMP2. Champions in Asian Le Mans Series last season, not the current season just finished, the one before in LMP3, which gave the team their first Le Mans start last year. Stepping up with, originally planned before the current crisis, 2 LMP2s, 2 LMP3s. Oh dear, someone's week's not gone well. Well, I'm absolutely delighted as the rest of the commentary team work their way through what seems like a mountain of chocolate to say that I'm going to go to my towable recreational vehicle for a couple of hours. Replaced by Jamie Campbell-Walter, racing legend.
See you at 6 o'clock in the morning, Graham.
That's not the first time you've said that, is it? Oh, it's the first time you said it to me, in fairness, but...
That'll come round ridiculously quickly, don't you worry about that. So Graham Goodwin heads to his pit. Martin Haven, Alan McNish and Jamie Campbell-Walter. Hands up all the world champions in the room. And that's not me. I have a world champion on my left, have a world champion on my right, and we have a stationary car. And as ever, Is this a car that's not already retired, Graham Goodwin?
It's a car that actually stopped at that exact point.
Yep.
About an hour ago.
Right by that golf club restaurant sign.
In fact, it was an hour and 15 minutes ago.
Oh. Now, I have been very, very thoroughly assured that that car had already retired at least twice. Clearly, rumours of its demise were exaggerated and continued. And again, it has started off once more, so it is on its way. Who's at the helm of the 33 car and has fueled back? He was at the helm the last time it stopped.
Yes, he was. Is stopping after roughly 2 minutes of driving.
Yeah. It does seem unlikely that it stops at exactly the same place for a different reason. So it is, let's assume, the same reason. Whatever that is, they haven't been able to find it with their hammer. All Aston Martin battle for the lead of the GTE AM class. Hands up everybody who can guess what the gap between these two cars is. That's the 98 AMR in front. We're on board the 90 TF Sport car. And these two are now in the top 30. Augusto Farfus ahead of Charlie Eastwood.
And that was the high-class racing car you saw just going slowly on the left-hand side that these two blasted past. And the gap, 0.4 of a second.
How much is Charlie Eastwood enjoying this, having an all Aston Martin battle with a guy with the kind of reputation that Augusto Farfus has?
Not as much as if you overtook him and the battle was the other way around.
Yeah. But Charlie has been dragging this car right back up the order and into the lead battle now, not just a podium battle. And as Farfus straddles the curb there, see all the gravel being thrown up, not because he's in the gravel trap, but because lots of other people have been through. I was lying in my caravan earlier on, unable to sleep, but listening to all the cars going by and going, I think that's a Ferrari, I think that's a P2 car, I think that... And it occurred to me that the one most distinctive noise of all is not here this weekend. I couldn't hear a Corvette bellow.
Yes, the classic V8.
Yeah, and it was, and it's the one that stands out from all the others. All the others are different, but there's no doubting when a Corvette's going past.
It's a bit of a shame, isn't it? All of these, the new Aston, the new Ferrari. The Ferrari, I mean, you don't even notice it actually anymore, whereas it used to have a V8 bark as well,
yep.
the screen. And the Astons as well, when I drove the Aston, it was a good old lump of a V8. Now with the turbocharge, it's really so quiet. And actually, the Porsche, the old Porsche 911 in GTM is still a cracking sounding car, but
yep.
all the others, bar LMP2 of course, are fairly quiet, aren't they?
Yeah. Anders Fuel back there with a helmet on, Mark Patterson chatting to him and giving him that pat on the shoulder, which is the sign of things not going well. Well done, boys, thanks for all your help, all that sort of stuff. That's got all that body language, hasn't it? Either that or Mark Patterson is due to head off to bed and is just waiting to see what's going on with the car. But I'm afraid that does not look good for high-class racing. They are the last running car in the race at the moment.
yellow flag down.
Oh,
at,
this is the Iron
Porsche
Duke's
Cubs.
car, and this is a second off for Rino Mastronardi. This time he has got a little further off. He shot through the second chicane on the Mulsanne straight a couple of laps back. He's buried, the rear wheel is spinning. He's not getting out of there without the use of a tractor.
It's going to be a slow zone.
Yep. And that will come in 55 seconds time. That's 2 hours 6 minutes, Central European summertime. And here he comes, backing it in.
Whoa, that's quite high speed.
Now, I was kind of thinking he'd be ending up in the gravel there on driver's right, but in fact that was a triple Salco, and he ended up a long way from where the accident started. And Jamie, you're right, that is a quick lose, isn't it?
Yeah, I remember, was it Marc Genet went off there in the Peugeot? But there was no gravel then, was there? It was all tarmac.
It was a wall.
And the wall was much, much closer, wasn't it?
And he took a big section of the wall out.
Yeah.
Thankfully, Mark was okay.
Going back to Charlie Eastwood, you know, funnily enough, Charlie was not the best. He raced once again in Formula Renault against one of my guys, Ferdinand Habsburg, and he wasn't outstanding in single-seaters by any stretch of the imagination, but he really has taken, and is that going rather slowly?
No, it's a slow zone, but I would question how quickly Farfus went into the slow zone, because he seemed to gain a little bit. Either Farfus went in too quickly or Charlie went in too slowly.
Yeah.
One of the two, because the gap has opened out from 0.4 of a second.
But going back to Charlie, since he's joined the, you know, he became a junior with Aston Martin, and he's really taken to it like a duck to water, and he's doing a great job. Augusto, of course, no slouch, touring car expert, drove the BMW M8 for quite a long time.
And raced DTM as well for
DTM,
BMW.
yeah.
He's got a bit of experience.
Off he goes.
And again, look, he opens up the gap as well as they go green. Of course, he gets to green first. It might just be that Gusto really nailed it, stopping at the last possible minute for the slow zone. Rescuing Rino Mastronardi in the Iron Lynx car from the gravel traps down at the Porsche curves. This car 16th in the GT Am class. The top Iron Lynx car in the field is in 11th place, battling for the top 10 with Michele Beretta's Proton competition. Porsche is Michel Gatting in the Iron Dames car.
Farfus has pulled 2.3 seconds in that slow zone on the entry to the slow zone over Eastwood.
It's like that in-lap, out-lap discipline, isn't it? That is, you know, so important to not give away time. So now, I don't know how many laps it took Charlie to get onto the tail of the 98 AMR car, but he's got to do it all over again. And of course, next time round, the slow zone will still be in force. So in 3 minutes' time, or 2.5 minutes' time when they get back, and Charlie is going to have to go in deep in the next slow zone, the pre-slow zone.
Right at the apex, just lost the rear. Can't see if he was a bit offline at this sort of viewpoint.
So counting it in slow motion, it was only a double rotation, only a 720. Well, that car will likely be headed into them for a good hoovering.
Weight distribution quite far forward on that car for a mid-engine car, isn't it?
Well, it's where you pick it up from the roof, so they may not be picking it up from the centre of balance.
No.
Just happens to be where the roof happens to be. And at least their FIA-mandated pickup points, those frames on the cranes have toggles that match the holes in the roof that are mandated in all these cars for quick extraction. And we saw a little while ago one of the cars that was extricated from the gravel. Then the officials came into the garage with a loop and a pin and showed it's not holding in your roof, and so the team then had to set to and try and sort it out so that it would be lifted.
So Charlie is a bit quicker, actually. First sector 36.7. 38.9 for Augusto, and then a good 0.8 quicker in the middle sector as well. So he's got the legs on him, actually. Not sure what the state of play is with tyre life on both of them.
Julian Canal, we just saw, stepping out in the 31 Panis Racing car. That is in 4th place. Driver change going on there. Let's hear from Kamui Kobayashi, our race leader for Toyota Gazoo Racing. The only word I heard in there was tyre and puncture, and there was tyre puncture.
I think he said trying to look at 4 stints.
Okay.
So you've got something for the end of the race.
And you know
that's
what,
the lead car, so I think they're sort of looking at the protection side. Coming back to your question, Jamie, by the way, they're both the lead and second place Aston Martins in GT Yam are on roughly the same sort of tyre stop and tyre stint.
So Charlie, therefore, doing a great job. He'll be crossing the line soon. He's probably in the slow zone at the moment. We watch the mechanics go to work. These guys never stop.
No, there's no chance, is there? They don't get an hour off, they don't get 2 hours off, they get maybe 1 lap off, maybe 10 laps off, maybe 14 laps off. They're always ready, just in case.
Yeah, you occasionally see them. You see them lying in a chair with a radio headset on, with their eyes shut, but they're listening to everything that's going on.
Or even if they're awake, so the moment, or asleep rather, the moment somebody shouts, they're all
up
into attention. Yeah. And it's such hard work for the mechanics. They never get any rest at all throughout the race. It's a 40-hour race pretty much by the time they finished. And the moment the car comes into the pits, they have to be razor sharp, because you can lose so much time that you just can't make up with any kind of performance advantage out on the track.
Charlie 0.3 quicker in the final sector, which includes the slow zone. So he's learned from the last lap, and he's not making that mistake again.
Giancarlo Fisichella, you're watching in the AF Corsa Ferrari, fresh out of the pits. That's car now down in 14th place, the 54 car. Slow zone procedures will be reviewed as a matter of course. And just a reminder of the recent successes. That is the Super Season result for Toyota. 2 race wins for the number 8 car and the World Championship title. This year leading the points hunt, car number 7. And as we head in towards the halfway point in the race, so far the number 8 car is the one that has had the dramas. However, we are not yet even halfway into this. Oh, the car guy's car. Kai Cozzolino in the number 70 machine inside the Iron Dames car. Squeezes his way by Michelle Gatting. And her engineer was probably saying, this is not for position, do not fight him. You have other things to focus on. Back in the pits is 27, Dragon Speed car. Renger van der Zande took it over last. No, he didn't. And there's a driver.
No, Renger's been in for a while.
Yeah, there's a driver waiting just in case, but I don't think they're going to do a change.
No, Renger's done 4 stints, yeah. 39 laps he's done in that car.
Well, there was somebody standing in the doorway, but they didn't seem to be making a driver change, so he may be going on a 5th. He's left the pits on a 5th stint.
Now remember, they're quite short stints.
He's JJ Latoing his way through the night time here. That's why cars come back into the pit lane, because they are full of gubbins, and gubbins gets into bits. That's engineering talk for you there, folks.
Yeah, taking the opportunity to change the brakes.
Yeah. Well, one of the things particularly that gubbins gets into is brake calipers.
Yeah, this car, though, we have to say, is 16th in category, so they're better to take a little bit of time. And it's also had this reasonably big off, so it's
Well, for these guys, it's about the finish. They want to finish the race. They're regular European Le Mans Series contenders, and they want to finish here at Le Mans. So too, EDEC Sport. 28 car now, we ride on board with Richard Bradley. 10th place overall. Jamie Campbell-Walter, you've got a long association, or a deep association with this team this year. Can you imagine after Thursday that before the midway point in the race, this car would A, be in the race, and B, be in 10th?
Well, no.
I know.
New chassis. I mean, incredible that they've come up to 10th. They've obviously had a really clean run.
Yeah.
We've not seen any issues with them. I think they did have a puncture in hour 2, which cost them a bit of time. They also, I had a chat with Nick earlier, and he said that we lost it out a bit because we had to get through the GT cars, and we lost out with a couple of safety cars and stuff.
Yeah.
But incredible job, and you know, they really have had a trouble-free run. The drivers have done a great job, and yeah.
Well, they started a lap behind the whole field, so they started a whole lap behind the LMP1 car, LMP2 rivals, and then of course, because they're so far behind, they're in different safety car groups when the safety cars came out in sort of a flurry, and they probably lost out in every one of those to their rivals. So they're actually 3 laps off the LMP2 lead, but going like an absolute train. And the 17 car as well, Carl Tilley, the rookie at the wheel of that car, that's in 15th position. And again, it looked on Thursday as though neither EDEC Sport car was likely to make the race. However, they have turned both of those around and done a stunning job. Mikkel Jensen in the pits from 6th place for G-Drive. Battle on his hands with Renger van der Zande, who continues in the number 27 Dragon Speed car in 7th. Let's hear from Richard Bradley and the team. I wonder how they're feeling.
Full service driver change, that means tyres, it means fuel, and obviously, as they said, drivers. Just a bit of clarity for the driver of what's coming up, so that he knows to unplug his radio as he's past the pit entry line. He must do that so that he's logged for having done the previous lap, because it's got a driver ID in it. Also to start to maybe release a little bit of tension out of the belts. He can't undo the seat belts until he's stopped, and it's just a whole preparation point for the driver. The team at this moment in time will be starting to bring the tyres towards the front of the grid. So it takes about a minute to do that, and at the same time they'll be getting ready as mechanics for the one.
Is the car in first position? Yes, it's Bulga.
Oh, that's what I'm going to dive bomb him on my in-lap. Yes, but leave him alone is the answer that he wanted there.
That's Nico is the IDEC engineer there. He used to be with Rebellion previous to the IDEC team, and he's a fantastic engineer actually, and I work quite closely with him with all the IDEC drivers for the Le Mans 24-hour virtual race. Yeah,
had a long chat with him in the aftermath of the race, and he was saying it was just fascinating as an engineer to learn engineering from the sim race, as a completely upside down, topsy-turvy setups that they use for the virtual version of these LMP2 cars. We talked about that early in the race, where you go from really hard spring rates in the real world to spring rates that would barely suit a Ford Fiesta in the virtual world.
Yeah, it was an eye-opening experience setup-wise, but even for me, so for an engineer, it must have been like, wow, there's a mechanic being woken up. Pit stop time.
No, cameras on you, mate. yeah, mates.
So incredible. So IDEC, you know, about to overtake the Cool Racing number 42 car for P9 in class.
Yeah. Well, Richard Bradley into the pit lane, and I think there was going to be a driver change there. Eurasia are in as well, and Roberto Mari is at the wheel of that car.
Fastest lap for the 31 Panis Racing, 30.9 for Mathieu Vaxivière.
Yeah. This is the only green lap we've seen in a long while. Into the pit lane comes Brendan Hartley. Is that a full stint? I think it must be, actually. Just seems not that long ago since he was in.
Do we now think the Toyotas are just in, right, we've won the race, it's ours to lose, we've got to just now stay off the curbs, look after the tyres, get as many stints out of each tyre that we can, and that's it, lads?
I think they were from the moment they passed the #1 Rebellion in the first hour, to be honest.
Well, I think the two cars were racing each other, but now with that 1 lap gap, then it's a case of they're so closely matched. Unless there is an issue, then it's probably going to stay in this configuration. And the way they'll get an issue is by trying to push it faster and harder than they need to, which at the moment they don't.
Absolutely right. Driver change at Edex Sport, and Richard Bradley hands back to Paul-Luc Chatin. Paul did some heavy lifting in this car early in the race. He was really flying in his first few stints. I mean, you know, to get up into the top 10, all the boys have been pushing this. It got broken once. I think the assumption is we're not going to break it again, but we are going to rag it to within an inch of its life.
Well, they're sort of got nothing to lose, have they? I mean,
everything to gain, exactly.
They're quite experienced, that crew. You know, ELMS champions last year. Paul-Luc, I think, had pole in 2018 here, so very quick driver and quite experienced as well.
Top 3 in LMP2 in the pit lane. Will Owen for United Autosports the leader. Paul di Resta for United Autosports second place. They've both just left. Roberto Gonzalez taking over from Antonio Felix da Costa. I beg your pardon, handing over to Anthony Davidson, who's taken over from Roberto in the Jota Sport car.
Why is the Jota Sport car so far behind? What's happened there?
It had, I think, a puncture. It had a slight delay, the 38 car.
38 had a puncture, yes, correct.
Yeah.
And the G-Drive, the 28 Mikkel Jensen car, why is that?
The drive-through penalty, and it's had a couple of stops due to electrical issues. Drive-through penalty for overtaking in a slow zone, and then a couple of electrical issues where it stopped on track and had to reset.
Lost power coming down through the S's, didn't it, when Roman Rusinov was at the wheel?
And kept out, it didn't come into the pits, kept out, and then had it sort of 2 consecutive laps.
On board with Paul di Resta here. Snap of oversteer on the entry to the second chicane there. .5 seconds behind his teammate Will Owen.
How many stints has Will Owen done now? Because he was in the car when Paul got in.
Will has done 2.
Okay.
So he's basically, they're 1 stint out from each other. They roughly stop 1 lap apart, but 1 stint out. So Paul is in his first stint, having done 10 laps, just starting, I think, the second one now. Is he on an out lap? Yep. And Will is starting his 3rd stint.
We're talking a little bit earlier about the backlit map inside the windscreen of one of the cars, I think the number 50 car, when we were on board with Tatiana Calderon, and saying how neat it looked, because normally it's just a tatty bit of paper. On board with the number 22 United Autosports, not 1 but 2 tatty bits of paper with the track map on. So why 2? One's clearly got...
Do you want me to phone Paul?
Something, numbers on the side. I don't know what the other one's all about. Anyway, driver change, yes, at Cool Racing. Boss gets back in.
Oh, yeah, he's a shareholder in this, is he?
Yes, he is. Part owner, team manager. Wrote the theme song, I believe. Probably master as well.
We were just on board before this pit stop with Will Owen, actually, and he was, I think he was behind Guido van der Garde.
He was,
in the jumbo car, wasn't he?
Jumbo car well out of contention now after the problems that they had.
Yeah, but Guido, quite a fast driver, probably doesn't want to lose a lap to the leader, and a bit of a nightmare for Will, that, isn't he? He's got Paul up his arse and wants to get by him.
He tells him on lap 3.
Don't push too hard on the first 2 laps.
Oh, I wish you had said that earlier. I really killed it out of the pit lane. Yeah.
Remember, there is a delay on this as well, so
Indeed.
could happen.
The messages are listened to and then selected for broadcast, so that's, you know, the better part of a lap. So that will have been relatively soon, probably as he hit the Mulsanne straight on his outlap. Being chased by a police car, obviously, hence the flashing blue lights on the wings. Michelin engineers checking the tyres over. And a fresh set ready for the 62 AM car coming down at pit lane. This is Red River Sports welcoming Johnny Molan to the garage. Mechanic there with a drinks bottle top-up. Fuel hose goes in. Cleanliness next to godliness in every mechanic's dictionary. So lots of cleaning going on, windscreens and everything else. Will Owen and Paul di Resta 1-2 in LMP2. And you're absolutely right, Jamie, that Will Owen doesn't want to be held up by the Racing Team Netherlands car, but Gerda van der Garde is pedaling it quickly, and actually it gives him a little bit of a kind of marker, an indication of just what kind of speed he can expect out of the car, and maybe a bit of a tow as well through some of the traffic.
Yeah.
However,
I think that's Guido a bit further ahead, isn't it?
Yeah.
Just pulled a gap.
This is Will Owen that's right in front here.
Yeah.
We're on board with Paul. That's Will Owen right in front. So this is the lead battle between teammates. 2 car lengths, maybe 3 at best, as they come out of Mulsanne corner.
Talking about that map on the right-hand side, I don't think it's Le Mans. I don't recognise it.
Wrong way up, isn't it? No.
Anyway.
Is it Silverstone? No. Yes, bizarre, and also, why would you have it still stuck to the inside of the windscreen? Very odd. However,
I'm sure there's method there in what some people might think is madness.
down to first gear through Arnage, picking up speed, pulling gears almost as quickly as you can manage. And of course in the slipstream of his teammates, so that just gives him an extra kilometre or 2 of top speed. What it does do though, leaves him in the wash of the car in front, so he's just got a fraction less front end. And you feel that, Jamie, won't you, in the Porsche curves?
Especially in a P2 car, yeah. He will... he's quite... I think Paul's quite keen to get by him.
No, really?
he's not hanging around, is he? He's...
Well, this isn't like the Spa 24 Hours. You don't get any points for leading in 2 minutes and 10 seconds, do you?
Well, and Paul's got slightly younger tyres by 10 laps, so a stint younger, and
he's got the chance now because Will was slightly held up there coming through the chicane. And unless Will can clear this car now on the right-hand side...
Don't think he will. He will. He goes for it anyway. They both go by.
Yep.
Yeah, Jakub Schmickowski letting them go through.
Paul will be on the radio now saying, "I'm quicker."
And Will be going, "So am I." Or in approved Mercedes teammate manner, if he's that much quicker, let's see him go by. We are going to hear from Paul di Resta. The car in front of me is slower.
He's a bit quicker than 3 minutes. Is it like big force? No, he's not the same, but yes, it is quick in a straight line.
Geez, that's quick as he got less downforce.
Yeah.
No, but yep, straight line.
Straight line. Paul flashing the headlights there. More in hope than anticipation. Great battle. Look at this, we're halfway into the race and the 2 United Autosports cars are looking at going door handle to door handle. Paul's going to blow some headlight bulbs if he keeps flashing them like that.
1 push of the button, 5 flashes.
Look at the top speed. 10, 12. See, di Resta in the slipstream
3K.
with, with a fraction more top end, but not enough to get a shot by him. He's going to have to box clever on this one. He's got the experience in hand over Will Owen. Doesn't have speed in hand. 301 to 300.